Hi, I'm Andrea Bouget from Aromahead Institute, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to melt butters so that you can make all kinds of variations of wonderful body butters and lip balms. And I'm so excited to show you how to do this because these are so wonderful, and I'm going to show you a base recipe, but then these are interchangeable. You can exchange the different butters for ones that maybe you have. So we're going to start with beeswax, and the idea is that the beeswax is used in the blend in order to help it stay solid. And we're always talking about a ratio between the beeswax and the other carrier oils and body butters that we're going to be using. So in this case, we're going to have a 5-to-1 ratio. We're going to have 1 ounce of beeswax and 5 ounces of oil and butter. And so the recipe today has coconut oil in it. We're going to have 2 ounces or 56 grams of coconut oil. And you can see the coconut oil is very loose here because it's warm. And then we're going to have 2 ounces of cocoa butter, and which is 56 grams. Then we're going to have 1 ounce of shea butter. And we're going to melt all of these together on the stove to create a really beautiful texture for your body butter, 5-to-1 ratio texture. And that's going to be really easy for you to just spread all over your skin. It'll spread beautifully and it'll feel so silky and delicious. So you ready to get started? So the first thing is you need a scale, a kitchen scale. And by the way, all the ingredients that I use here, I'm going to list in the description of the video below so you can figure out where to get everything. Okay, so I turn the scale on, and then I need to click the tare so that I'm not considering the weight of the little container that I'm going to use to measure everything. So I put this container on and I click the tare, and now it says 0. So there's no weight considered for this little bowl. And I start with the beeswax because the beeswax takes the longest to melt, and so you want to put it in first. So I have these little gloves, and if I was going to make this for anyone in the public or to sell, then I would be using these gloves. But I'm making this for me today, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so we have 1 ounce, 28 grams of beeswax. So I'm going to put that right into the bowl. There we go, 1 ounce. And then I'm going to bring this over to the stove. And at the stove, I've got my pot already set up, and it's got about this much water in it. It's about 1/4 of the way full. And I'm going to put it on to just a low simmer. And then I'm just going to use a Pyrex measuring cup because it has a pouring spout, so that's really convenient. And I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to have the handle outside so that it doesn't really get hot, so I can pick it up easily later. And then I'm just going to put the beeswax right into the Pyrex, and I'm going to let that melt while I'm weighing and measuring everything else. So this is going to, it's not quite at a low boil yet, but it will be in a moment. So we'll just leave that, and we'll come back over to the scale. I'm going to put this back on, and I'm going to look, and I can see that the tare held. So the weight is still not being considered for this bowl. That's good. So we're going to start with the coconut oil, and I'm going to put in my 2 ounces or 56 grams of coconut oil. And coconut oil is a little bit messy when you live in a warm climate, which I do, and so it's liquid. You can see it's sort of solid on the bottom. If we were in a cold climate, this would be completely solidified, and it's actually easier to work with when it's cold. But for now, I'm just going to pour it into this little beaker, because it's just easier to pour that way. And then I'm going to pour it right into my bowl. And I'm using the same bowl I used for the beeswax, no big deal. So I'm looking for, I have it on ounces, so I'm going for 2 ounces. Just about there. There we go. Great. All right, and then I'm going to put this in with the beeswax because coconut oil can withstand a lot of heat. And so there's no problem putting it in early on as we're melting the beeswax. So I'm going to take a spatula and bring it with me. I'm going to come back over to the Pyrex and add the coconut oil right in. And just get as much as I can out of this bowl. Okay. So while that's doing its thing, I'm going to grab a different bowl. This way, if I get the wrong amount in there, it doesn't mix with the coconut oil and I can put it back in its original container. Okay, so I'm putting that back on, and again, it held its tare, which is good. So you can see we are blending several different butters and with beeswax, and this is going to create this really gorgeous base for a body butter. And then if you wanted at the end, you could put in essential oil. Okay, so now we have the cocoa butter. And we have 2 ounces of cocoa butter. This is easier to do with a spoon. Okay, and cocoa butter is such a gorgeous ingredient to use because it brings such silkiness to the blend. It has this beautiful cocoa aroma, and I love what it does to a body butter, so we're using 2 ounces of it. So I'm going to bring it over, and I'm going to put it in right now, right with the beeswax and the coconut oil. I could wait till the beeswax was fully melted, but cocoa butter can withstand a lot of heat, so there's no problem there. Okay, there we go. So we're going to let that melt, and we're going to measure out the shea butter. So I get a new bowl. Great. And we need 1 ounce of the shea butter. So this is sticky, and in fact, it would be easier if I use the glove. So I'm going to just put the glove on. Not so easy when you have a lot of rings. But there we go. All right. I'm just going to use my hand to get the 1 ounce. That's a little too much. I'm going to take a little bit out. There we go, perfect, 1 ounce. And it's really sticky and it's messy. So you don't want to get it on the floor, that's for sure, because if you step on it and you walk around, it's really messy. Trust me, been there. Okay. The shea butter is actually vulnerable to the heat, so I'm going to wait until everything else is melted before I add it in. I want it to have as little heat as possible, because what happens with shea is that when it gets a lot of heat, it crystallizes, and so your butter gets these little tiny lumps in it, which is really no big deal, and I don't mind at all. But sometimes people don't want it to be lumpy, they want it to be really smooth, and so you try to put as little heat as possible on the shea butter, and that will help it not get those little granule bits in it. So we'll bring it over to the stove, and I think I'll just give this a little stir. And you can use a glass stirring rod or you can use a spoon, whatever you like. So I'm just gonna give it a little stir just to encourage it to melt a little faster, but honestly, you don't need to stir it. I just like to because it's fun. Okay, so we're almost there. It's almost all melted. And this is the kind of thing where you actually can't multitask very much. You have to stay right here by the stove and not walk away. Believe me, I've made that mistake in the past too. So you have to just stay right here because we don't want to be concerned that we're going to run out of water in the pot. That would be the worst case scenario. So just hang out here, enjoy the gorgeous aromas. It smells like honey from the beeswax and cocoa from the cocoa butter and coconut from the coconut oil. So it's gorgeous. It's just absolutely beautiful. All right, we're just about there. You can just see a couple little bits of beeswax left in here that are still melting, a little bit of cocoa butter. The reason, by the way, that we don't want this boiling, a full boil, it would go faster, but if you get bits of water splattering into the body butter, that's not good. We don't want any water in there. The beautiful thing about body butters is that there are no water-based ingredients in them. So that means that they have a really long shelf life. As a matter of fact, the shelf life on this will be at least a year, as long as the ingredients are all fresh when you start. Okay, this smells so good. And at the end, if you wanted to add essential oils in, you could. And usually what I do is I make this base and I pour it into my jars and I put it in a cool spot or in the fridge. And then each time I want to take a jar out and add specific essential oils for certain reasons, I just remelt the butter right in the glass jar. I add the essential oils and then I let it solidify again. It doesn't do it any harm at all. So that's a great little trick to know. So you can make 10 or 12 of these at one time and then add essential oils at any moment that you want to create a blend for somebody for something specific. So everything is pretty much melted here now, and so we are going to add the shea butter. And I'm just going to grab the spatula and add it in carefully so it doesn't splatter. Okay, good. And then I'm going to turn the heat off because, like I was saying before, the shea does better without a lot of heat. So I'm going to turn it off and I'm just going to move the pot off of the heat. And then I'm going to stir because that will encourage the shea to melt. And the shea melts, pretty quickly with this kind of heat. So I'm just going to stir it up a little and let it do its thing. And from here, it's so easy because once it's all melted, all we do is pour it into glass jars. And you really can't use any kind of plastic for this because the heat will just melt the plastic. So this has to be done in glass jars. And we had a total of 5 ounces of ingredients. So we're going to have about that much body butter. So I have 3 2-ounce jars here. And you could certainly use 1-ounce jars too if you want more of them. It's up to you. Okay, so this is pretty close. There's still a little chunk here. And it smells amazing. And remember before I was saying that you could interchange these ingredients? Well, the way that you do that is you just look at the texture. And so if, for example, you didn't have any cocoa butter and you wanted to exchange it with a different butter, all you need to do is find a butter that has a similar texture, and then it will behave very similarly from a texture standpoint in the blend. If I wanted to exchange the coconut oil, I would need something very loose and soft, right? So that's how you decide in terms of texture how to interchange things. There's just this one little piece left. And the smell is amazing. The shea butter brings this nuttiness into the blend that is so beautiful. So now, along with that really rich cocoa coconut honey smell, we've got a little nutty aroma. It's really beautiful. Okay. We're good. So I am going to test this handle and see how it is. It's really only slightly warm, so I can pick this right up. And then I have a towel here, and I'm just going to wipe the bottom so it's not wet. And then I'm going to just bring it over to the counter where I have my glass jars. And then I'm going to pour it in the glass jars. And I like to get kind of low so that I don't spill, or I don't spill as much. And I'm just going to pour it up to the shoulder, not all the way up. And that way it won't stick to the cap. There we go. Oh yeah, we've got plenty. And so we're not actually filling it up all the way to 2 ounces. We're doing a little bit less than that. I'm going to add a tiny bit more here because I have it. Just making sure that I don't get too high. There we go. The beeswax kind of expands, and I've noticed that I always get a little bit more than I imagine I will, which is a very good thing. All right. So then I'm just going to cap them, and if I was to put in essential oils, I could do it right before I poured. I'd do it right into the Pyrex and then pour it in, and then I'd want to cap them really quick so the essential oil didn't evaporate. But there's no essential oil in here, so I'm not really concerned about any evaporation. But I don't move the jars so that we get a nice, beautiful flat top when it's solidified. And so I'm going to leave them here until they solidify. I'm not going to move them. If you do want to move them, then have them on a tray first, and then you can just pick the tray up and move the whole thing. So these won't take long to solidify, just a couple minutes, and then they'll be warm for a while, but you can start using them maybe in half an hour. Really easy. So this is your base recipe for your body butter. And if this is exciting to you and you feel like you want to learn more about making body butters, we actually have a class online at Aromahead where you can learn how to make different butters and lip balms. It's called Body Butters and Lip Balms. And we make scar butter, and we make no more pain and inflammation butter. We use all different kinds of butters and carrier oils, and we use a variety of essential oils to accomplish those blends. So I'll put the link for that in the description below for you, and thanks for being here. Bye.